the age-old question, which NRL club is the most successful? Well, to answer this, with the help of my statistician mate, PokeyShark007, check him out on Insta, he's taken a deep dive into the statistics and analytics to which NRL club is the most successful, ranking them from 1 through to 16. Variables such as premierships won, grand final appearances, years without a premiership, wooden spoons, and postseason appearances have been all crunched down into one final number, which will be called the success score, to rank these clubs. The number 0 is the average, with clubs being in the negatives or the positives. Just a disclaimer, this video isn't the be-all and end-all. It's the use of mathematics to figure out which club is the most successful. There are clubs that have been around for over a century, some over half a century, and some only a couple decades, so there are of course going to be some variables. Alright, let's get into the first team. At number 16 we have the Gold Coast Titans with a success score of negative 1.800. The Titans have gotten the short end of the straw, seeing that they are the newest NRL franchise. But this really works both ways, as clubs that have been around for an eternity with little success are low on this list as well. The Titans have featured in 14 NRL seasons and are yet to win a premiership or feature in a grand final, with wooden spoons in 2011 and 2019, and just have 4 postseason appearances. Titans fans have had really little to cheer about. Making the finals only 26.7% of the time in their 15-year history, this marks the second lowest postseason appearance percentage in the NRL. At number 15 we have the New Zealand Warriors with a success score of negative 1.537. Still without a premiership, the Warriors have been close, appearing in the grand final on 2 separate occasions and have won a minor premiership in 2002. Led by the likes of Stacey Jones, Ivan Cleary and Monty Beetham, New Zealand hasn't been really close to their dominance in 2002, outside of that grand final appearance in 2011. Making the finals 29.6% of the time, they've only appeared once in the top 8 since 2012 and have had the added adversity of relocation the past 2 years. Although there have been a few tough seasons for the Warriors, they are yet to receive a wooden spoon in their club's history. At number 14 it's the Cronulla Sharks with a success score of negative 1.173. Considering the recent success of the Sharks in 2022, it may be hard to see the Sharks so far down on this list. The Sharks before their premiership in 2016 were without a title for their previous 49 years. Their championship to seasons played ratio is one of the worst of any NRL team, and by a considerable amount. They have appeared in 4 grand finals and 22 postseasons in their club's history, with some of their most memorable sides being their 2016 side, the teams in the late 1990s, 1973 and the 1978 side. Lucky for Sharks fans, it looks like their side is about to enter a period of success under Craig Fitzgibbon. At number 13 it's the West Tigers with a success score of negative 1.045. It's honestly surprising that the Tigers aren't lower on this list, considering they have not appeared in a final series since 2011. On a drought of 11 years from the postseason, with only 3 postseason appearances in their 22-year history at the club, their record is pretty woeful. Their premiership in 2005 in their single grand final appearance though does save them, as Benji Marshall and Scott Prince led the merger club to an unlikely premiership victory. Their ability to evade the wooden spoon has also helped them on this list. Success has been barren for the Tigers, but their premiership keeps them from being anywhere lower on this list. At number 12 it's the North Queensland Cowboys with a success score of negative 0.796. Introduced into the rugby league in 1995, things didn't start particularly well for the expansion side. With 2 wooden spoons in their first 3 years, the Cowboys struggled mightily. Brought into the competition at the same time as the New Zealand Warriors, the Cowboys have had clearly the better fortunes. Grand finals in 2005, 15 and 2018 were all great seasons for the club, with that memorable 2015 premiership win a franchise highlight. They waited 20 years for their first and only premiership and will be hoping that that wait isn't as long for the next one. At number 11 it's the Newcastle Knights with a success score of negative 0.412. The Knights have been either good or woeful. In their 34-year history, 16 of their seasons have ended up in the postseason, whilst 4 of them have finished them on the bottom of the ladder, winning the wooden spoon. Between 1997 and 2003 would have to be the club's glory years, as they were led by the legendary Andrew Johns. Since the 2001 premiership, the club has perpetually struggled. With wooden spoons in 2015, 16 and 17, it's been 20 years since their last premiership, as fans will be hoping they can turn it around, as the club has basically struggled for the last decade. At number 10 it's the Canberra Raiders with a success score of negative 0.175. With 5 grand final appearances in their first 15 seasons, if this list was made in 1995, it would be safe to say that they would be near the top. Premierships in 1989, 1990, 1994 and the Malmaninga era have been the club's only premierships, as they are currently on a 27-year drought, the second longest in the NRL. Their 2019 grand final appearance has been their only grand final appearance of this millennium, but they have remained competitive, playing 23 times in the postseason in their 40-year history. At number 9, it's the Penrith Panthers with a success score of -0.155. This may come as a surprise, considering the dominance that they've displayed recently over the NRL. They actually moved up from 10th to 9th in the past season, with the club actually not having one final appearance in their first 17 years. And since 1987, the Panthers have seen much more success though, with one premiership in the 90s and one in the 2000s. The Panthers have made the finals fairly consistently over the past 2 decades. The past 7 seasons would have to be the club's most successful period, appearing in the finals in 5 of the last 7 seasons, and a premiership of course in 2021. With a young crop of elite stars in Western Sydney, I'd expect this side to keep rising up this list in the coming years. At number 8, it's the Parramatta Eels with a success score of -0.153. Just edging out the Panthers by 0.02 are the Eels, whose success primarily comes from their late 1970s and early to mid-80s, as they were led by Sterling, Kenny and Price during this period. They would appear in 7 grand finals, winning 4 of them, and since the turn of the century, the Eels haven't been terrible. Sure, they have had low points like the Wooden Spoons in 2012, 13 and 18, and were runners-up in 2009 and 2001, and have shown that they have been competitive. They would make the finals 7 times between 2000 and 2010, and have made the finals the last 3 seasons, but also have the most Wooden Spoons in NRL history with 14, 6 more than the next worst club. At number 7, it's the St George Illawarra Dragons with a success score of -0.043. Since the Illawarra and St George merger in the 1999 season, the Dragons have been relatively successful. With a runners-up in their inaugural season and a premiership in 2010, the Dragons fans can't complain, being one of the more successful teams that have entered in around the late 90s. It's safe to say that their club's first half of their history has been much better than their second half. Names like Mark Gasnier, Matt Cooper, Nathan Blacklock and Jamie Soward were integral during this period. In their last 11 seasons, they've only featured in the finals 3 times, making it no further than the second round. At number 6 is the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs with a success rate of 0.397. It's the first team with a positive score on this list, and another side with the success has majorly come from the pre-NRL era. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs' 87-year history has had a total of 8 premierships, with 2 of them coming before 1942, a long while ago. In saying this, it would take them 37 years to win their next premiership, in a period where they would rarely even make the finals. During the mid-80s and in 1995, the Bulldogs were led by legends like Terry Lamb and Steve Mortimer, but have still seen considerable success in the NRL era. With a premiership in 2004 and a grand final appearance in 2012 and 2014, the last 6 seasons have not been at all kind for the Dogs though, as they hold the second largest finals drought in the NRL currently. At number 5, it's the Manly Seagulls with a success score of 1.007. The Manly Seagulls' success has been pretty well spread out over their 72-year history. It would take Manly 25 years to win their first premiership, but by the 1970s they would win 4 premierships, 1 in the 80s, 90s, 2000s and 2010s. Their total of 8 premierships is the 3rd highest in the competition, with the club making 19 grand finals in the process. Club legends like Jeff Tuvey, Bob Fulton and Steve Menzies have carried this club through its history and are why Manly remains so high on this list. At number 4, it's the Sydney Roosters with a success score of 1.092. There are little doubt that the Roosters would be high on this list with the quality of the sides that they've had in recent years. They are also the oldest club on this list, founded 114 years ago in the inaugural Rugby League Premiership. I'm very aware that the club played in a competition that only consisted of 8 sides and was very, very different to what we see today. The Roosters were not without their years of drought though as well, going 29 years without a premiership between 1945 and 1974. The Roosters carry the record for most minor premierships in rugby league history with 20, with 15 of them resulting in premierships. At number 3, it's the Brisbane Broncos with a success score of 1.103. A contrast to the last few clubs mentioned, the Broncos have been around for 34 seasons and are relatively new. Their success came relatively early into the club's existence, with premierships all throughout the 1990s. They were the leading side throughout the 1990s, winning in 1992, 93, 97 and 98. This was undoubtedly the golden age for the club. Gordon Tallis, Alan Langer and Shane Webke are just some of the legends of this era, and are really some of the players that laid the platform for the club. After the final premiership in 2006, things have definitely changed for the side. It's been a 15-year drought for the Broncos, and they have experienced their first wooden spoon only 2 seasons ago. It's safe to say that the Broncos fans have been more than spoilt though, making the finals 28 of the last 34 seasons with 4 minor premierships. At number 2, it's the South Sydney Rabbitohs with a success score of 1.147. With the most premierships and grand final appearances of any club in the history of the sport, you would think the Rabbitohs were winning regularly. Winning all but one of their premierships before 1971, they have suffered as a fan base, with them being at number 2 being quite misleading. The team would not make the finals from 1989 to 2007 and have had the second highest wooden spoons in the competition. The last 10 seasons are easily the club's most successful period during the NRL era. They are still, of course, a historic club that represents the roots of our game and should be applauded for their success all those years ago, as it is why they were able to survive as a club till today. And in number 1, it's the Melbourne Storm with a success score of 1.292. Who else could it really be but the Melbourne Storm? The 4th youngest side in the competition's history has been a revelation in such a short period of time. With 4 premierships in their 24-year existence, their consistent success has been remarkable. They've only missed the postseason 3 times and have finished as minor premiers on 5 separate occasions. Most clubs struggle as an expansion club in their early years, but Melbourne were able to win a premiership in their 2nd year, and it really has been smooth sailing for the club ever since. Surprisingly, within all this dominance is a wooden spoon which was suffered in their salary cap sanctioned season. Okay, so that concludes this video. Remember, this isn't the be all and end all. There are obviously some variables to take into consideration. If you have any suggestions on future videos, let me know. For more Australian sports lists and mini documentaries, subscribe, like and comment. The bigger we build this channel, the more improved the quality of these videos will become. Thanks for watching.